So I had put this video up yesterday, or it was like my first video yesterday, and TikTok was throttling it. They were shadow banning it, and so I took it down, put it up again. Same thing happened, and then I waited till later in the evening last night, and put it up again, and now they've removed the sound. And I'm not really sure why, because they're not really giving a reason except I violated their rules. But there was nothing controversial about the video. So what the video was about reflection. And I was saying that healthcare workers should think back to the Nazi era time when under those days, healthcare was under government control. They had universal health care. All professions were under the government control of the Nazi era, okay? So was everything else. And then picture yourself having to work in that, okay? Whether you're a nurse or a military or policeman, okay? You may be assigned outside a gig. Jordan Peterson, who back when he was a psychology professor in Canada, he explained it like this, that if, picture yourself as a one of the guards that has to be outside the gas chamber. Do you think all those guards were just monsters? How did they become so monstrous that they would go to work every day and do that? Well, it's simple. There's no other jobs. It's not like they can go to another, in healthcare, let's say, it's not like you could go to another hospital because they've all monopolized. They all fall under one system. So and you have kids at home, in order to put food on the table, you have to reconcile that somehow. That's a good thing to reflect on, putting yourself in that time period, because your first thought would be, I would never go along with that. People don't think about it enough, because it's not like you can go to a different job. Everything falls under the government of Hitler. And that's how it was. Everything was monopolized. Education, healthcare, all of it. And a lot of propaganda had already been taking place, so that maybe helped people justify. But it's a good thing, because it lets you know where your line is, and I think it's a good idea to know where your line is before you reach that place. I think it's also good to know that, so that you can recognize more when it's happening, when history's repeating. Maybe that's why TikTok was shadow banning it, because I was saying nothing controversial. There's nothing wrong with putting a video up about reflecting. The only thing they could possibly have had a problem with is that they don't want people to think that deeply. I mean, this world is all about they don't want you to think, very much like what they did during the Nazi era. They told you what to think. So I'll see how this one goes. But there definitely shouldn't have been any reason for blocking that, unless they just don't want people to think. Because with tyrants, and all of our social media outlets are tyrants, the government is basically telling them what to keep up, what to take down. I mean, that's come out in hearings. And they're more shadow banning now on other sites, but that's people that have gone along with a system that's tyrannical, and likely they're going along with it because they have to put food on the table. And it seems like that's probably to them, and now I'm just talking about the people that have been doing all the silencing of videos. It may seem like to them, well, this is what I have to do. No, you don't ever have to do anything. In regards to the Nazi era time, those doctors and nurses headed down the road of becoming monsters because they needed the paycheck, and not because they were greedy, but because they had some of them because they believed in it. They had been brainwashed enough to believe, yes, we should take these, these people that are a burden on society, the feeble-minded, the mentally ill. We should put them out of their misery so that they're not such a burden on society. That's what socialism is about, actually, when it comes to healthcare. It's that you take up too many resources. That's why in Canada right now they have MAID for the mentally ill, meaning they'll assist you in suicide. You can look it up if you don't believe that. Very sad. It's so that it's a less burden on the state. So the reason I say this is because if you think about it honestly for yourself, being back in that time period, you might find, oh, what would I do? There's nowhere else I can get a job, and you likely can't leave the country because everything was under one government control. There's not really another profession you can go to because, again, it's all under government control. So what do? Well, if you have strong faith, you surrender it to God and you don't go along with it. Because if you go along with it, then you find yourself down the path of becoming a monster. And you'll eventually, if you stay on that path, you will become a monster. Especially if you're somebody signing off on those tickets to send people to, those chambers. But it's kind of one that's a struggle, because you really do have to think about, do I have a line? Do I have a line where no matter what, I'll have to, just give it, because the point is, where you get to is that there's no answer. And then, if you have faith, you lean on faith. God will get me through this because the Bible tells me I just need to do the right thing and God will provide. That's a hard concept for many people. Very hard. And it's not one people consider, and they didn't during the Holocaust, which is why so many people went along with things that they wouldn't normally go along with. Because not with the amount of doctors that went along with that, and psychiatrists and nurses, they weren't all bad people. They just were put in a position where I have to do this, which is why at Nuremberg all the nurses said I was just doing what I was told. So that's not a justification, in my opinion, for any healthcare worker to make, especially in a situation like that. But it's good to think about that, because then at least you know where your line is, and I think that many people would see better what's happening around them, that where history is repeating. And as far as TikTok, the only thing I can think is they don't want people to think. Every tyrannical government and all of our social media is controlled by our current tyrannical government, is helping the same way the people in the Nazi era helped to stifle true speech. And that led to many people getting killed. Everybody better have a line, even the people working at social media. They may think it's all innocent and they'll get away with it, but history shows those people will always pay the price for those actions.